So today we're going to talk about how we shot this music video with zero budget. Let's get it. So the visuals capture a mood of introspection, isolation and contemplation, and I chose to use space in order to help create a sense of atmosphere that reflects the state of mind of the artist, and that also helps to convey a feeling of detachment or distance from the world around the artist, as if like they observing from a distance. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this was a zero budget music video, in regards to the locations, the wardrobe and the props, I had to make sure that we don't have to find places or things that are going to be very expensive for us, or resources that are going to make us not be able to create this video. So due to all of this, you know that it's going to be very difficult to find certain things when it comes to the music video, but the first step was for us to make sure that we find spaces that are not gonna require permits for us to shoot in. And secondly, when it comes to the props, we had to make sure that I write the treatment, making sure or keeping in mind that I have to include things that are gonna be easily accessed. So in regards to the equipment, I've used my trusted Blackmagic 4K with the Sigma 18-35, and we used the Godox 5-in-1 reflector and also the Godox VL-150. And in order to power the VL-150, we used a portable power station, which is a 300 watt. It lasted us the entire day and we didn't have any issues with it. And my initial idea in terms of the shots, I wanted all of them to be stagnant, except for one or two shots when it comes to the artist's performances and the dancer as well. So I needed a tripod, but because I don't own one, I opted for my C-stand and just mounted the camera using the tilter cage. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the one where the artist has his eyes covered with flowers. The idea behind this is to actually convey or portray the artist being blinded by love. So here what we did was we had the sun lighting the back of the artist, so we used the sun as a kicker light or as a backlight. And then what we did was we just took the Godox 5-in-1 reflector using the silver side, and we also had a white cloth to bounce back the light to the artist's face. For this next scene, I wanted him to perform focusing more on the flowers as if he was admiring them. So for this scene, what we did was very simple. We just had the artist face the sun. I know like that's a little bit harsh. I could have used a diffuser, but I chose to have the highlights a bit hot on him. I don't know for what reason, but for me it kind of looked good for the look that I was going for. And the only thing that I did here is to add a negative fill on his right hand side so that we can kind of push the shadows and make the scene a little bit more contrasty. And that scene actually is my favorite from the entire video, and the reason for that is because the artist was in front of the camera for the first time. He was kind of nervous when we were shooting the first scene of him being covered with the flowers. I felt like he got more comfortable when it comes to this one, and I think the reason for that was because instead of him directly looking at the camera, he was focusing more on the flowers. As you can see, it really gave the feeling of him being vulnerable. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is where the artist is seated in front of a gravel road. So the main reason why we chose this location in particular, it's because we knew that we wanted the artist to wear a red hoodie or a sweater, and to create contrast we needed a place that's going to be green. But mainly it's because the location itself it was already beautiful, and the trees were very symmetric. In camera, it already gave a beautiful scene, and we did not have to add anything on the scene other than the chair that he was sitting on. For this scene, because it was a wide shot and we did not have powerful lights and it was almost sunset, so what we did here was very simple because we were moving fast as well. I just had the artist sit in the middle of the road, and because I didn't want to change anything because it was going to take away the feel that I wanted to have in this particular scene, so what we did was place my assistant, who was also the dancer on the video, stand on the opposite side of the sun and just hold the reflector using the silver side to bounce the light into the talent's face, because it's a wide shot and we did not have powerful lights, and in a distance we still needed to see his face, and this was our best option. So for the medium close-up of the same scene, the first thing that we did was to make sure that we placed the camera in a way that's gonna show or portray the artist in a powerless position. And in order to do that, what we did was mount the camera on the C-stand or the boom stand and slightly tilt it down so that it can kind of give you a view of him just being smaller than he is. And the second thing that we did in regards to the lighting, because we were close and it was a little bit dark, at this point we were able to use the Godox VL-150. It was actually set at I think it was 75% because it was coming in hot on his face, and I didn't like that. We had the light diffused using the inside diffusion part of the 5-in-1 Godox Reflector. So while he was performing, I've noticed that he was doing certain gestures that I liked, so I let him finish performing and we did all the shots that we have pre-planned. Even though I knew that we were running out of time to shoot for that day, I wasn't gonna let go of the shots that I've already seen him do. We continued to shoot with the same lighting setup with the VL-150 placed on his left side, and we were utilizing the backlight which was created by the sun. But because I knew that in post, as I've mentioned at the beginning of the video, that I wanted the video to be very contrasty, I needed to boost the shadows. How I did that was just to have my assistant hold the black side of the 5-in-1 reflector on his right side, so that we can have that contrast on his face. The initial idea for this setup was totally different from what made it to the final video. But because I did not have my mat box and we were facing the sun, because the sun was hitting him from the back, what I did was I ended up asking my assistants to use a black cloth to entirely cover up the artist and create this hard shadow even though we were outside. And what we did was bring in the VL-150 closer to him. I kind of used my assistants who was standing right next to the talent as a negative feel to create this contrasty look on the artist's face, while we have this well or kind of overblown sky behind him. While on our way to the last location for the dance scene, we passed by this open space where they were burning the grass, and it was during sunset, so I really liked how it looked. So we decided not to continue to the original location, but we decided to use this one because the smoke was already creating a very nice atmosphere and I really liked it. So we stopped there and we started shooting, and as you've noticed that in most of the shots we've used the sun as a backlight, and the dancing is no different from that. The only thing that we did actually in regards to the lighting, because I wanted him to kind of look like a silhouette but not entirely, because I still wanted his face to be visible but still falling into the shadows without having noise and without having too much shadows. So what we did was, while we were shooting, I had my assistant following me back and forth, holding the silver side of the reflector to bounce the light to the talent's face. so that he does not fall into the shadows entirely. And for this scene, there's nothing else that we did, and everything here was shot handheld, unlike the rest of the scenes. And that's about it for today's breakdown. And as always, if you have any questions, you can hit me down on the comment section, and because I'm always keen to learn as well, if you have any advice for me, you can hit me up on the comment section as well, and I'll go through everyone's comment and I'll make sure that I answer. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time, guys.